Why do we study history at school? What is the historian's job? What does history have to do with me? These are questions that we could all ask ourselves, and that we would hardly know how to answer. We are going to try to answer them in this simple and short video.
To make it simpler and easier, we are going to explain how much the work of a doctor and that of a historian have in common. A patient goes to a medical consultation with an illness. The doctor asks him different questions about his symptoms, medication, the medical history of this patient, and his family. The doctor also takes into account the environment and external conditions. Once all this objective information has been collected, the doctor analyzes it, actively observes, and makes a diagnosis.
And what happens when the patient is not an individual but a society? When a society has a problem, the historian collects the objective knowledge that is related to the present and especially the past of this problem. After this, he formulates his conclusions, his diagnosis. That is why we can say that the historian is a doctor of society. But the relationship between them does not end here. In the same way that it happens to the historian, it can happen that the doctor's patient does not agree with the diagnosis. And as well as medical science, knowledge of the past is always progressing, being transformed and improved.
At this point, we can define what history is. History is a social science that studies the past of the human being to understand and explain the present. This is how great thinkers in history have stated it, such as the philosopher Leibniz in the 17th century, Michelet in the 19th century, and Marc Bloch already in the 20th century, for example. And here is the explanation of why we study history in school, because history is the discipline that teaches boys and girls how the society where they live works. As Marc Bloch stated, understanding the present is born from the study of the past. To finish, I propose that you do an experiment, and you will realize that you have acted as a historian does too. What do you do when you meet someone for the first time? You ask them things about them, right? You are interested in their present, but especially in their past. Have you ever stopped to think why? When you look for information in the past to better understand the present, you act as a historian does.